Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about 5 mistakes to avoid at League Start. Now, League Starts are kind of a magical time. It's kind of where everybody comes together, is hyped about the changes, and just has fun with Path of Exile. And stakes do seem to be high because people are trying to figure things out. There's no real beta, right? So whoever figures things out first will have an economical advantage, stuff like that. We'll go over all of that. But there's also things to kind of ruin the League Start, and that's taking it maybe too seriously or not preparing enough. Or maybe just completely like neglecting all of your surroundings. And since this will now be my 26th League Start, I have a little bit under my belt, so I will give you some feedback on that. Let's get into it. And let's start off with the biggest thing here by far, playing a build you don't like. And sure, you've heard this before, right? It's kind of cute to say, right? Just play a build you like, right? It's not that easy sometimes. Maybe you enjoy builds that aren't really meta at the moment, that are kind of like not well balanced. However, it cannot be stated enough just how rough this can be for your League Start, because that is kind of like your introduction to the league, and if that sucks, then most likely your whole league experience will suck. I think meta builds are huge, especially for new players, to get a feeling for the game. You don't even know what you like, right? So you just pick a build and it's awesome. And if there's a particular build that you enjoy, for example, Righteous Fire, and it is meta, it just happens to be meta, why wouldn't you play it? That's awesome. But they are not needed to complete the game. And this all has to do with how much you actually care. Maybe you're already good enough to make your own build. Maybe you just have to do more research. There's gonna be something, right? You go on PoE Ninja and you find this guy, and maybe you even DM him in game. You're like, hey, how did you level your build? You can make these builds work. They take a little bit of effort, probably more than something like a meta build that's just like easily available out there, but it will be worth it in the end. Now, this need to play meta build has gotten a lot worse because it has been getting harder and harder to complete the game with Arch Nemesis in the game. And hopefully this is going to be addressed this league. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but with the curse changes as well, making bossing easier, it should be, once again, a lot easier to play builds that aren't considered the best. Also, and you know how this is, you're not going to play a build as much if you don't like it. You're probably going to log off earlier. So even if you think that meta builds will get you somewhere faster, they might actually not, because you might not have as much fun and play less. Also, playing a build you don't like just kind of counters this League Start hype feeling. This is like a feeling that we have 3 to 4 times a year usually. Why would you ruin it for yourself just to be like a little bit faster? I personally have grown out of this. I've done that mistake a few times. Never again. Now, a huge thing that I would recommend everybody do, not just people who play off-meta builds where they're not sure, is test the first 38 levels of your build. I know what you're thinking. I want to go in blind. I don't want to play a build and then play it again. That's kind of like defeats the purpose of making a new build. I get it. But the first 38 levels will not spoil it for you, but what they will give you is knowing where to get your gems from. And I know you think you have it all in your head, but doing it once is not going to take that much time, and it's going to make it that much easier at League Start, especially when there's a league mechanic out there that you have to gonna engage with. You don't know what's going on. You don't want to think about what gem to pick, or where do I get this, where do I get that. As well as that, this can disqualify builds that you don't like. Let's say you have a meta build, like for example, Poisonous Concoction, and you test the first 38 levels, and you're like, I don't like this skill. I don't like how this feels. Well, you would not have known, and at League Start, pulling a second build out after just realizing that you don't like the skill will cause you a lot of time loss. Now, with all that being said, is out of all the failure also comes learning experiences. If you always just go the safe route, if you always play meta builds, if you never experiment, if you never try new things, you're not going to fail, which means you're probably not going to learn. As much as I can try to convey you like general knowledge, there's like these small things that you can only really experience yourself that don't fit into a video. So even if your League Start kind of fails, you can still make something out of it. At least you tried. Number 2, not setting yourself goals. This is a big one. People just get into a league. They don't really know what to expect. They're kind of like lukewarm about the league, and it's like week 1 and they're like, what do I do now? I don't know what build to play. I don't know what to strive for. And sure, most people have a goal like, I want to get a headhunter, I want to get a mage, but that's not all, right? So for example, what we talked about, planning out your build, you can also plan maybe what kind of build you want to get into as your second build. This can also be stuff like farming methods, right? Plan out your Atlas passive tree, all of those things. At the end of the day, PoE is a vast game. You need some guidance. Now, planning out your goals will also make it way easier to choose a build. Some builds excel at heist. Some builds excel at mapping. Some do at bossing. If you know what you're planning to do after you completed your Atlas, well, there you go. Or maybe you have a strat where you don't even have to complete your Atlas. You only know that once you actually think about it and plan it out. And this can also give you a lot more freedom to think about other things when it comes to build. So for example, on Maxroll, what we have is a milestone system. So for example, this is a League Start character from my EA Ballista build, and I have these in milestones. I tell people what they have to go for step by step. And these are obviously not like final. You can like jumble them around whatever you like, but it's just cool to give somebody a little bit more context and just to have this written down, right? For example, milestone 1, get decent rare gear, get your sockets in order, buy a tabby, maybe get a goal. And you don't have to plan these out in detail. Basically, just like I do here, like a notepad, have a few notes open on the other monitor while you're league starting. Now, the next point is something that we're all guilty of, which is stressing about the first days of league. And this is mostly this myth that we think we have to push in the first few days. This is where most of our economical advantages come from. And for 99% of players, this is just not true. This is true for people who want to go all in. They don't want to sleep. They want to farm mirrors, at least one, and then sit on it for weeks. If you're one of those players, which I'm certainly not, and I think most people are not, it is not even that good. But the way most people play this game is maybe they do some heist or something, but usually it is about completing the Atlas and then kind of thinking about a farming strat or farming bosses, doing lab, whatever you want. And you have to set realistic expectations here. If you're not that knowledgeable about the game, if you don't have the hours in, you're not going to be able to compete with these people. There's people who are up for 20 hours. Why would you want to compete with them? You have to think like long term. What does it actually mean that you get like a mirror this league? What are you going to do with it? At the end of the league, most likely you're not playing standard. It's going to rot in standard anyways. Give yourself realistic expectations where you have fun while grinding. Make the path to your goal enjoyable, not just the goal that you think is going to give you all of this upside. I have this so many times where I farm for an extremely expensive item, maybe like Mage Blood, maybe Headhunter, something else. And usually once I have it, it's not that fun. Leading up to it, like counting every single divine, selling stuff along the way, getting closer and closer to my goal. That is the most fun I have. But once I have that item, it's kind of like, now what? So stressing on these first magical days, right, where something is completely new. Like, for example, the league mechanic. This is a good example. I see so many people completely ignoring the league mechanic. They're like, I don't want to engage with it. I don't know what I'm doing. This is going to take too long to figure out. Let's just do something that's like easier. Let's just rush through the acts and wait for a Grimrow video. And I get that, but at the same time, it's kind of like sad to see. Now, there's obviously caveats to this. If you have a friend group that you play with and you want to push for some stuff, like I said, number 2 was it's all about your goals, but most people should not be stressing out. This will also get you a really unhealthy relationship with the game. So what I used to do when I was in uni is I had like, let's say 1 to 2 weeks where I knew I didn't have any exams, I didn't have any classes, and I was like, okay, so now I can just grind. And what happened was I had these goals that I just rushed to, right? Like Headhunter day 2, Headhunter day 3, whatever it was, then get this item, get this item. And after a week, I was usually burned out. And this gives you a very weird relationship with the game where you kind of forget about your surroundings, right? You're not eating right. And then after you're done with your session, after like 10 days or whatever, you're like, what the hell was I doing? How does my room look? What the hell just happened? And this gets me directly into point number 4, which is don't neglect your physical health. Don't worry, I'm not going to be preachy. Everybody has their own habits. But what I mean is talking about like a healthy relationship to the game is you shouldn't really change everything about your lifestyle, right? It's like you have maybe 2 weeks off of work, maybe 1 week, you have no exams, whatever it is, you took off from work. Don't neglect your physical health. Act as if you weren't playing the game. Do your laundry. Go to the gym if you need to. Get your stuff in order and do everything while you do that. Like stretch out, eat normal. Just don't change your habits too much. Otherwise, PoE will be this kind of niche thing that you're always kind of ashamed of, that you come out of and you're like, what the hell just happened? What did I do in these 2 weeks? But you can have a better relationship with PoE. It can't just be a normal thing. It can be like coming back from work and playing a game of Fortnite or whatever. So all I'm saying is that you can take an hour out of your day to do certain things. You don't have to play all the time, which also ties into my last point. You don't have to stress about day 1 to 3 as much as completely neglecting anything outside of PoE. And the 5th mistake, in my opinion, is not being part of the community. PoE community is awesome. There's a lot of very involved people, a lot of very passionate people. And League Start is usually a very magical time when it comes to that. And whenever you can, be part of that is just something I would say. I wasn't part of it for like the first 3 to 4 years of playing the game, and I kind of regret it. In hindsight, it is extremely fun to just hang out with other people while playing. Now, obviously, if you already have a friend group that you play with, that's different, but most people don't. So yeah, stuff like Twitch live streamers, right? Whether it's my stream, twitch.tv/Palsteron, or all the other great content creators, is going to be always a fun spot to hang out. Have it on your second monitor. Just play yourself. Kind of like feel the League Start. It's always fun. Keep up to date on YouTube. Keep up to date on Reddit. This is like half of the fun of a League Start. But yeah, that's overall everything I wanted to say. I hope I can get the tension a little bit out of League Start. I always know tensions are high when it comes to finding builds, when it comes to kind of thinking about the economy and stuff like that. Patch notes are always rough. So yeah, I hope I could ease that maybe a little bit, give you a little bit perspective, and see you next time. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do stuff like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, I meant everything I said. League's right around the corner. I'm pretty hyped. Gonna see what happens. Come on stream. Check out the league together. Have fun. And with that being said, I still don't have a slogan. See you next time.